somebody who's been in a little bit of hot water really this entire season for various reasons, but now it's really all starting to seemingly implode in Jacksonville is Urban Meyer. We've talked all season about Urban, but go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we said it early on that he clearly doesn't want to be there. That it was clear by week 2. The rumors were already before the season started. The rumors were circulating that he was telling people this is like playing Alabama every single week. That he got to the NFL, got a big paycheck, and was like, actually, I don't like this at all. And you can understand a career college coach in today's age goes to the NFL, and all of a sudden you have an owner, you have a general manager, and you have professionally paid players. They might have been paid at Florida, but they weren't, not officially. So they might have been paid.
I saw somebody say that. They were like, yeah, Urban Meyer's finding out what it's like when the opposing team players are paid.
Also getting paid.
Yeah. And look, here's where I am on Urban Meyer. I don't like Urban Meyer. I do not like him. I have I have respect for him as a coach. I think he's a fantastic coach. I don't like Urban Meyer. I think he's a coward. I think he ran from Nick Saban, whenever Alabama beat him, and obviously Tebow and that whole class left. So he had a heart attack, and then, then he had health reasons, and then the whole Ohio State thing. I don't like him, but I think that he's a really, really good coach. And I feel like a lot of this is self-inflicted on him. The negative attention he's getting, he's bringing all of that on himself. And it is an avalanche of negativity. And again, he deserves most of it. But I do believe that he can turn this thing around if he can survive this. I do. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a fit.
Well, the other big question with him,
tough.
Right now he's not handling. He's so, as a college coach, you have such complete control, such carte blanche. Yeah. And it's got to be
the media's scared of you. Like Nick Saban can sit there and just trash the media in front of them for an hour, and they'll just be like, sorry, Nick, and he can get away with that. You can't and Belichick's the only guy that can pull that off in the NFL, and that took a long time for him to build up. But even still, when Belichick was losing last year, he really couldn't get away with it as much as he got away when he was winning. But Belichick's the only guy. But Belichick is a Jedi master at how he handles the media at the same time. It's a very rare thing. Not many people have it. So, yeah, you're right. So when you have that kind of localized media, and even if you're at the Ohio State, or if you're at, Florida or Alabama, that's as big as it gets in college or Texas, but there's still some localized feel to it, and you still have power and control and influence. It's a different game when you're in the NFL, and it is a different game when you're dealing with the players that you're coaching probably make as much. Some of them make more than you. And that's a tough game. But my gut feeling is that Urban Meyer is good enough to turn this around if he can survive the avalanche that he's in right now. And I'm not sure he survives it, because the negativity is insane right now. And he deserves it because he's a dick. He's a dick. I don't like him. I don't like the guy.
It's if he wants to survive it. I think that Khan will have him there, and will have him there as long as he wants to be there. I think they're committed to him. The question is, will Urban Meyer want to weather through this? Can't be fun for him, after what he was used to go to this.
When he decided to go dancing with the young girls in Ohio rather than hop back on the plane back home, that told me that he wanted out, and he was hoping somehow to get fired but still get the payout. That kind of routine.
Well, the thing with the Jags is, if they wanted to fire him for cause, they could have then.
That's true.
And they could have maintained, not lost any of that money. That would have been for cause. They can't do that now, because just being bad isn't a for cause termination. It has to be something outside. That's not the case with Urban Meyer right now. If they were to fire him, they would owe him tens of millions of dollars. And just like what's kind of brought this to the forefront is more inside reports from Jacksonville, reportedly that the players and coaches have major problems with Urban Meyer. These latest leaks were that he and receiver Marvin Jones had a screaming match. I honestly don't care about that one. That happens. It's the NFL. Grow up. And that he called his assistant coaches losers came out on Saturday. I personally have a tough time believing that one. I've made a video about it when it came out. The report is that Urban Meyer was irate and screaming at his assistant coaches and said that he was a winner and that all the assistant coaches are losers, and said, prove to me that you're not a loser. Show me in your resume you're not a loser.
Some of that kind of motivation probably worked in college. You know what I mean? I mean, in college, you could do that kind of speech, especially with assistants that depend on you for their future career. Problem is not so much the NFL. Most of these, and to my knowledge, he didn't bring in a lot of his own people to the coaching staff. It's I think there were a few, but I think most of them are career NFL guys. So these are guys that are like, we don't care what you did in college. And, probably some of these guys have been in the league 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, maybe longer. If they're a special teams coach, they're different animals. In college, you have such control over the future of your assistants that I think it's very different than it is in the NFL. There's only a few assistants that really demand premium pay and have independent respect and prestige. In fact, and some of those guys can lose it fast. I mean, Tony Elliott has one bad season as an offensive coordinator at Clemson, and he went from saying no thanks to Tennessee and $3 million a year to saying, please, Virginia, give me a job. One of the lower ranked ACC programs. So I think it wouldn't surprise me if his meaning of that speech was motivational kind of speech that worked. And I just think that so much of what works in college doesn't work in the NFL anymore. And I think that's where there was such a gap. I think you can go from pro to college because it's like a relief. You have more power, more control than you ever had at the pros. But I think it's tough to go from a long career in college because he's not like, Saban or some of these other people who at least had been assistants in the NFL substantially. I don't think Meyer ever coached in the NFL that I know of.
I don't believe so.
And so I think it's too much of a culture shift. Like if he would have been at Ohio State and didn't go off the plane, decided to hang out and party with some girls, that wouldn't have been a story at Ohio State. It's a story with Jacksonville Jaguars because as an NFL coach, you don't hop off the plane and let your players go back when the players are under strict rules and controls. So I just think it's a culture mismatch and it's a system mismatch. His offensive system was designed for college. It's not something that fits the NFL very well at all.
Yeah. And here's what his response was. What's the answer when things are going badly? Start leaking information or some nonsense? No, that's nonsense. That's garbage. I've been very blessed. I've not really dealt with that. I've not dealt with, well, did you hear what he said? What? No. Let's improve on offense and get our quarterback in position to be more successful. What someone's brother said or someone with something said that will occupy very little of my time. And if there is a source, that source is unemployed. I mean, within seconds, if there's some source that's doing that. Talking about potentially leaks.
Yeah, that part is a little naive because it's like in college, yeah, you could get somebody canned fast who was leaking something to the press. Try doing that in the NFL. That's what I mean. It's such a cultural mismatch. I don't know how long it can last. I wasn't a fan of the hire when it first happened. It didn't surprise me Khan made the kind of hire because it's not clear that guy has a clue how to do anything in the NFL.
That's what I was looking for right there. Was this? Yes. This is hard to justify. I mean, I think the shaking of hands sometimes gets a little overblown and overanalyzed. This like two people that don't even want to be near each other. This is
Mike Vrabel seems like he wants to, Urban, but Mike Vrabel's a guy who was on staff with him at Ohio State. Yeah, it's not like they don't know each other.
Right. Yeah. That's why he's giving him the hearty. But the other thing with Meyer, also remember this with Meyer, did he ever have a losing season in college?
I don't think so. I don't think he ever had one.
And it's not
he
just
doesn't
that
know how to deal with it.
He's losing and setting records, 7 straight games under 20 points, which is almost a modern day NFL record. I think 11 straight times to the under of their team total. I made the mistake of betting their team total over because I was like, it can't keep being this bad. Well, yes, it can. And so I just see a guy who really doesn't want to be there and is praying to God he could get fired with a check.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's got to drive him crazy, all these great gigs he passed up in college this year.
It's just, it is truly amazing. Like the negative, and again, the negativity. So I don't feel sorry for him, even though I think the negativity might be, there's a lot and so it may be a tad overblown, but like he brings this upon himself. He's always done this. There's always a problem with Urban Meyer. Always, everywhere he goes, there's always problems that follow him and there's always excuses made for him. He brings all these problems. He's a fantastic football coach. There's no doubt about that. The resume is proof of it.
Especially at college. At college, he's one of the best recruiters in the history of the game.
He's turned every program around immediately that he has been to. The dude is legendary, especially in college. But, yeah.
And one of 3 or 4 coaches that has ever won a national title at 2 different programs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, the guy's, he's unbelievable. But, yeah, this is
But he
I
turned
don't know
down.
if he survives it. I don't know if he survives this. I really don't.
I mean, I don't know if Florida would have rehired him, but he could have had a shot at LSU, could have had a shot at Oklahoma, could have had a shot at USC, could have had a shot at Notre Dame. All of them
pretty
just
much go
came and
anywhere.
left.
I don't know
Yeah.
why he would have never went to Texas.
Yeah, I don't know
mean-
why he turned that down. Texas
I mean,
made
Texas
perfect sense.
Texas is the like, regardless of how people think. Yeah, you probably think Alabama's the best job, and it's the best job because Nick Saban's there. But Texas is the objectively best job in college football in terms of
Oh yeah,
the recruiting,
money,
the
access
money,
to talent.
the big the network and everything. Like it's
Yep.
just it's crazy. And the fact that whoever
I think it was
is-
ego.
maybe, yeah, you're right about
Because
that.
I mean, I think that was kind of like why Spurrier left in part. Spurrier wanted he said, "I just want to try my hand, see if I can win in the NFL."
Mhm.
And he got bored. I mean, he wanted out of the league. I mean, it took him a couple of years because his ego was strong, but he was like,
Right.
this was not for me. He figured out within 2 or 3 years of being in the league.
Right. Yeah.
But the and well, also he was another guy who just couldn't handle the adjustment, couldn't handle losing. Just some of
Yeah.
those guys just can't. They're not the kind of people to stomach 5 and like what 2-10 Jacksonville.
Mhm.
I think the key to Meyer is if he has the confidence of Trevor Lawrence, he will stay. If he doesn't, he'll be gone.
And it
And
seems to me like Trevor Lawrence has been
threw
saying
4
the right
picks last
things.
week.
He did, but it does seem to me like Trevor Lawrence is saying the right things. There's a little controversy about James Robinson and an opportunity for Trevor Lawrence to throw some shade. He did not. He very much was the team guy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But there's
Somebody should
no
ask
doubt.
him, well, what's it like to be, nowhere near the running for Rookie of the Year while, the New England Patriots quarterback's going to win? Some questions like that. Because clearly,
Mhm.
I thought that that Lawrence was not as ready to play, and there were signs last year that Clemson's offense was sketchy at times, and it was not the elite offense that it was his freshman or sophomore season. There were some signs, and I still think he'll be a very good quarterback in the league. But by this point, all of your great quarterbacks over the past 15 years, by late in their first year, other than Josh Allen as a recent example, Josh Allen took 3 years to adjust, but that was expected because he was coming from such a lower level of college football. Trevor Lawrence, it was expected that he would be where other quarterbacks have been by this, by this number of games under their belt, all the way back to Peyton Manning. They were showing their capabilities by this point in the season. Trevor Lawrence is throwing 4 picks, scoring 0 points. Against a Titans defense that's decent, but it's not exactly one of the top 5.
It's not powerhouse or anything right now. And there is a lot of heat, not just from the media, not just from local reporters. It's everywhere. It's all over social media. Every decision he makes, if it's 3rd and long and they decide to run the ball, he's getting heat for it. It's literally everything. Every single decision is being scrutinized, and I just don't know if Urban Meyer wants that type of scrutiny. So time will tell. We'll see what happens with Urban Meyer.